And it's only the giving that makes you what you are.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's my dad's funeral trip. If you're thinking that doesn't look like a ferry terminal, you're quite correct. That's going to sound shit. I'm flying. Long story short, my brother is not able to pick me up from Liverpool or Heysham because he's got a golf competition commitment. We were trying to work our way through it, and he was like, oh, maybe I could get down of an evening one night or whatever. And I was like, you know what, Cole, don't worry about it. I'll fly. The important thing is that I get over for Dad's funeral, not my travel preferences. So as I record this, we're Monday the 22nd of May. My dad's funeral is not until Wednesday, but I'm giving myself like a contingency day just in case something horrible happens with the flight cancellation, something like that. So the job today is just to get up to Bury. So I'm flying from Ronaldsway on the Isle of Man to Manchester T3. From Manchester T3 you can jump on the Metrolink and that will take me all the way up to Bury, and then I'm staying at that same Premier in Bury that I stayed at last time. Today I've got nothing to do. This is just a travel day. It's a contingency day. Tomorrow I'm meeting a friend. I'll cover that later on. I don't do too long out here because it's windy. And then Wednesday is the funeral, where I'm going to be a pallbearer along with my brother and a couple of my dad's brothers, my uncles, a family friend and my sister-in-law's sister's husband. And then I'm coming back on Thursday. So I won't prattle on too long out here because I want to go and get checked. You know, it's like at airports these days. Please check in at least 74 years before your flight. So I'm going to go and do that now. Get on the plane and fly over to Manchester. See now, for the longest time they had two fruit machines down here, just in the public facing bit of the airport. They disappeared, I don't know, about 3 years ago. £70 jackpot they made it to. But they were kicking around long after the £100 jackpot was a thing. So there's no fruit machines on the public side, and I know there's none in departures now either. Well, that was fairly painless. I'm now at Manchester Airport Metrolink station. Flight went off pretty much on time. I think it was about 8 or 9 minutes late, but I think they can like speed up, can't they, to sort of get here on time. So everything seems pretty much to be on schedule. From Manchester T3, I think there is a skipper bus you can get, but it's only like it says it's a 10-minute walk, but I can do it in a lot less than that. So I just walked over here. It's all very well signposted. You're not going to get lost or anything like that. And now we are just waiting for the metro. There's one to Manchester Victoria. You can see there in 10 minutes. So what I'll do, I don't know if you can get one that goes all the way through to Bury, or you have to change in Manchester. I'm not sure, but either way, I will get the one to Victoria and just change there and get one to Bury. That'll get me up to Bury, and then I can go to the Premier Inn. I might be a bit early for checking. What? It's only fucking 20 to 11, so I might be running a bit early. The main thing is it's all gone according to plan. You know, this absolute nightmare scenario where I wouldn't get to the funeral in time. The reason I'm very jumpy about it is I actually missed my nana's funeral earlier this year. I was travelling the day before, and the funeral was the next morning. My flight to Manchester got cancelled whilst everyone was on it. We were all sat on the flight, and it was where they had some snow at Manchester Airport, and it shut the airport for long enough that our flight got binned off. There was everyone on the flight was in a mad panic to get rebooked, looking at the timings, because we had to get down to the back of beyond down in South Wales. I had to kind of meet up with my brother. I was basically going to do the same route here. Flight to Manchester, Metrolink up to Bury, rendezvous with my brother, and then my brother was going to run us all down to South Wales ready for the funeral the next morning, and there was just no way to do it. The timings were just all screwed up and I couldn't do it. There was just no flight, no sailing, nothing that could get me across and get me down to South Wales in time for my nana's funeral, and I missed it. So, and I had to watch a webcast of it, so I thought, fucking hell, I'm not having that happen with my dad's funeral. So that's why I have kind of come ridiculously early. I'm going to be in Bury for, you know, like lunchtime on Monday, and my dad's funeral is not till Wednesday afternoon, but I would rather do it that way round and be super sure I am there than miss it like I did with my nana's funeral. So all looking good. All it is now is the Metrolink up to Bury, and I will be where I need to be. It does mean, of course, that there's been no machines. There were no machines at the airport. They used to have 2 in the public-facing bit and 2 in departures. They all went a few years ago. I said 3 years ago earlier. I think it was actually longer ago than that. Certainly for some time now, there have been no machines of any description at the airport. Flight over, obviously I've just hot-footed it over to here. They don't have fruit machines on Metrolink stations, so it is just a case now of getting up to Bury. So whilst if I was sailing, there'd have been some machines on the ferry. That's not happened with this transit path, so I think the first sight of any machines that we're going to get will be when I go to the pub this afternoon, which I am intending to do. I'll be going out to the pub in Bury, and that's the first sight we'll have of any machines. So here we are, just coming down to Victoria Station. It's actually taken an hour. From Manchester Airport to Victoria is an hour. I'm going to jump off here because this one stops at Victoria, and I'm going to get one that will then take me onward to Bury. And I'll chance my arm on checking in at the hotel, even though I think technically I'm going to be a little bit on the early side. But yeah, the Metrolink really is mass transport done right. Here we are, Victoria Station. Change here, on to Bury, and then really I should get something to eat because I've had nothing to eat today yet. But alternatively, I could go to the pub. We'll see which way that one falls. Well, so here we are in the Premier Inn. What can I say? It's a Premier Inn. They're all the same. They're of a decent standard. Black shirt and pants and black tie for the funeral on Wednesday. Stash of Lucozade, because I do like Lucozade, and I bought far too many bottles of Lucozade out of the machine downstairs for £2.30 last time. So went up to one of the local saver shops and you can get 4 bottles for £2.39. So that seems like a better way of doing it. Where are we? Everything went super quite slick, no problems whatsoever. Flight was basically on time. Metrolink up here was fine. Does take just over an hour and a half to get from Manchester Airport to Bury. Is about an hour and 35 minutes, but got here fine. They charged me an extra tenner for checking in before 3 o'clock. The lady was very apologetic, but said that, yeah, they make us do it. They know what time you check in, and if we don't get the tenner off you, we get in trouble. So I said, no problem. I mean, God, the amount of money I've waxed on travel and hotels the last month, another tenner is just a drop in a bucket. So what I'm going to do, I've already been up into town to get me Lucozade, and I got a bloody chicken salad roll from Greg's and that bottle of Lucozade there. What I'm going to do now, I think, is just go to the pub. What I'm going to do, optimistically, I'll take my private eye with me, so I can sit down with a drink and read Private Eye, or I could play the machines. But it's impossible to say which way that might go. Lol. What I won't do is go to the arcade, because I think that would probably be a pretty bad idea. There's at least 2 of these Admiral arcades in Bury. I've had a look through the windows and it just looks like these kind of digi slot kind of things. I can't see any traditional fruit machines in there at all, and certainly no video games or pinballs or anything like that. If there was an arcade I could go into and play a pinball, I'd go for it. In fact, isn't that... No, Bury Arcade Club isn't open on Mondays, is it? I could go there to Bury Arcade Club, but I am 99% sure it's not going to be open on Monday. I'll have a little Google and check, because that might be an idea, if it's open. Right, we've got a feature on this thing here. You have got to be careful on these machines. The RTPs on some of them are so bad when you go down to the lowest stake. I am being careful, and I'm not doing £1 spins or anything stupid like that. That's a tenner already, isn't it? Come on, carry on. So yeah, just check your help files. Oh, not bad, 12 quid. I'm only on 20p a go here. So yeah, do check your help files, because some of them, you're down to like into the 70s or maybe 80% on the lowest stake. I think this one is not great. I'm doing like 84%, but it means I can play on 20p a go and just get a little bit. Oh, can we get another one of that fella there? Just get a little bit of gameplay. Similar to last time in a way, I am just filling time. Part of this here was just to make absolutely sure that I got here. In terms of travel from the Isle of Man, a bit of autoplay, see, autoplay. Flights get cancelled, sailings get cancelled, things do sometimes go wrong, so I just wanted to make absolutely cast iron definite I was going to get here in time, so I've just had a kind of, I say dead day. I've been out for a walk, it's a lovely sunny day, got my room set up, all good to go in that regard. And then tomorrow I'm going to meet me mate down in Manchester. Oh, feature maybe? No. Then it's the funeral on Wednesday. So this is fine. I've got my private eye there as well. £2.50 for a pint of John Smith's. Have a little bit of a flutter on the machine. And just pass a bit of time on. But go on, come commit a feature. I'll film again if I get another feature. It is a total Rainbow Riches rip-off, this thing, isn't it? So this is your pick-a-win one. Let's have a look. And we have got £9. You know what? On 20p a go, £9 is alright. That's fine. Again, a little bit like last time, it's kind of doing the job. And just passing a little bit of time on. Oh, can I get another feature? That'd be nice, wouldn't it? I'm not entirely sure because it looks there. It's only 10 win lines. And 5 of a kind on the top paying symbol is £2. So that would only be £20 for a full screen of Pots of Riches. So I'm thinking maybe you've got to play it on £1 a go to actually get your 100 times, or your £100 rather. So on 20p, you're down at £20 jackpot. Is that right? I don't know. It doesn't actually matter. I'd kind of be happy with £20. It's fine. This one doesn't seem too bad, so I'll just punt a few quid through this and see what happens. Now, this is actually a 4 scatter. The treble goes all the way to £100 there. This was a 4 scatters trigger. So I don't know what we're hoping for off this, maybe £20, something like that. Let's see. I've got no idea of the pay profile on this game. I've never played it. Oh, for fuck's sake, that was 4 scatters as well. I feel a little bit short. See there? 4 of him. And that was £7. Tight bugger. Right, we've got 3 of your spuds again. It's only 3 this time, but having 4 seemed to make absolutely fuck all difference. So let's see where we get to. It definitely showed like £100 at the end of the trail there. So maybe you can't get £100 on the reels, but you can still get it off the features. Come on, fella, keep... Oh, fucking £7 again. It's alright, this one. I always had a little bit of a soft spot for Rainbow Riches, and this is clearly a complete and total rip-off of Rainbow Riches. The other thing is, by the way, there you go, this game is random. Some of these things are compensated, and I do not trust compensated machines not to be bent, or at the very least for a clever player to work out some way to fuck with them, so I am sticking to the ones that say that they are random. Because if there is anything on these compensated ones, I have no idea what it is, and someone cleverer than me will have worked it out. Well, it's spud time again. Yeah, you see there, that's definitely £100 at the end of the trail. Again, it's only 3 scatters, so let's see what we get. But you've got to remember here, I'm only on 20p a go. This is the thing, you can have these shit features when you're on a... Oh, fucking hell. I think that 17 quid or 15 quid I got was a bit of an outlier. But can you see there? My balance is kind of holding up. This one's fine, and you can let autoplay take the strain. So this one is 88% across all states. Look at the Irish Lucky Clover. It does seem quite volatile, though. I mean, volatility, even on these, you know, where your jackpot is very small compared to your stake, is definitely still a thing. But I know I keep saying this, but it's kind of done what I needed it to do, which is pass a little bit of time on. It's R4 now. Once I get to 5 o'clock, what I'll probably do is go back down to the hotel, set myself up in the bar with a book, and is that going to go to King's? Oh, there, yeah, that's gone to King's. Set myself up with a book and my laptop, get a few beers down at the hotel, and then later on I can eat. And then we'll be going into Tuesday, where I know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm going to meet my friend down in Manchester at 2:30 in the afternoon. We're going to go for a few beers and get something to eat. It is the guy, by the way, out of Gambling Low Ebbs Part 1. Gambling Low Ebbs Part 1 is now back online. It's the guy up in York whose student house I trashed in Gambling Low Ebbs Part 1. We are still friends to this day. So it didn't destroy our friendship, although it didn't help, it's probably fair to say, but he didn't abandon me, which is, I've been lucky like that over the years, very, very lucky. From friends, family, Mrs. Degsy, of course my dad. Because my life would have turned out very, very differently. Well, I wouldn't have a life, I'd be dead. So I am constantly and endlessly grateful for that. So I know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm meeting my friend down in Manchester, and then on Wednesday it's my dad's funeral, and I'm going to carry his coffin, or help to carry his coffin at the service. I've got to say, I've got to be honest, my mood has dropped since I've come back. I was kind of feeling a little bit okay-ish when I was back on the Isle of Man, but since I've come back to Manchester and Bury, there's a lot of this, the enormity of what's happened, I think, is still, it's coming in bits and bobs and waves and crashes, and actually being here and knowing that I am here for my dad's funeral has really, it's like I say, my head's not actually in a very good place at the minute. So what I'm going to do, press the button, there we go. What I'm going to do, I've got one more pint, it's only John Smith, so it's quite weak stuff in it. I'm going to finish that beer. I did actually sit down for a bit and read my private eye. I'm going to finish that beer, then I'm going to go back down to the hotel, like I say, just set myself up, read that, get my laptop out, can start messaging people, family and friends, Mrs. Degsy on WhatsApp, and then later on I will get some food. Tomorrow should be okay. I'm looking forward to seeing my old friend. We do get on well, always have done, and we still do. So that will be something nice to do tomorrow. And then on Wednesday is my dad's funeral. So yeah, it's not the best of visits, is it? But it was never going to be. Well, it's a full screen, but it's only of Jack's, which is... it's a modest one. What you want to get there is a full screen of them symbols, and they transform into something else. So I guess that's where you get the big stuff from. You can see here, by the way, that your minimum win on this, hang on a minute, let's get it going again, is 8x. There are no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins on the pay table. Your absolute minimum win on this is 8x, so yeah, it's a bit more spicy. It's a bit more volatile. I could imagine this doing quite a bit of damage on £1 spins, to be honest. If you weren't prepared to get into it, I can see this going through 20, 40 quid like an absolute dose of salts. But on 20p here, you can tame it, and you can keep your 88%, which is not great for a random game, but it's almost into the realms of the tolerable. So beer and balance there. I'm prepared to play down that balance. I've not won, that's fine. I wasn't particularly expecting to. I had a very good run on these random games last time, so this will be fine. Past the time till I've finished my beer, then I might actually go. I cannot even begin to explain how gorgeous the weather is. I am walking around in a t-shirt here. I mean, yeah, okay, we're in May, but even so, I am just walking around in a t-shirt. The weather is gorgeous. Which, like I said this in the previous video, I'll take it. I'll take it as a win. I'll take some nice weather. Go on then, you bastards. You can have one last tenner. I think that's 70. I think that might be 80. If I'm honest, I think that's probably 80. I'll play one last tenner. Famous last words as well. We'll play one last tenner on... Oh, no, don't change bet. That's the wrong button to press. There we are. There we are, final tenner. Maybe we'll get a full screen and then buggers there, but I'm guessing probably not. So yeah, it did have that last 20 off me, but I got a bit of play time. No, last 10, I was only putting 10 at a time, sorry. So yeah, I think it's 70 or 80 down, but it was all at minimum bets, and I was playing for a while. There was no recklessness or stupidity about it, so it kind of did its job. I do quite like it in the Robert Peel. Apparently it used to be a Spoons. I was wondering about this, because when you go to the toilets, it is your standard, like, Wetherspoons, like, expedition to get to them, but Wetherspoons dropped it and it's now in different hands. It still feels a bit spoonsy, but it's not a Spoons pub. I was just drinking John Smith's there, which is like $2.50 a pint, so it was all right. We're comfortably past 5 o'clock now, so I will just go back to the hotel. There is no machine at the hotel now. There used to be a machine at the hotel. I will get a picture of the... they've still got the sign on the wall that says the gaming machine must not be played by anyone under the age of 18, but there is no gaming machine there now. That's disappeared at some point. So that's fine. I'm going to go... exactly what I said I'd do is go back to the hotel, get another 2 or 3 beers, and then get some food. Whilst I'm there, I've paid, by the way, pro tip for Premier Inn, pay for the ultimate Wi-Fi. I tried to cheap it out on the free Wi-Fi. It's so bad. I finally caved on the last couple of days of my previous visit, and the ultimate Wi-Fi is so much better. And it's not even that expensive. You can get like 7 days for 15 quid, so do that. It's like they're clearly reserving like 95% of the bandwidth for those who have paid for the ultimate Wi-Fi. So do that. It does actually make media intensive stuff. It's slightly less painful than pulling fingernails, which is what it's like on the free Wi-Fi. So that's where we are. But yeah, as I was saying in the pub, my mood has dropped since I've come. What I think I've realised I was doing is... whilst I was over in the Isle of Man, I think I've just put the whole thing in a box. It's like there's this horrible box here that you're going to have to deal with. You know there's a big pile of shit in it, but we'll defer it. We'll put it off for now. And now that I'm actually here, now that I'm back in Manchester, now that I'm back in Bury, and I know what I'm here for, I'm here for my dad's funeral. 2 days from now, I'm going to be carrying his coffin with his dead body in it in a funeral ceremony. And it's like the box is open now, and the box, I'd put the whole pile of shit in a box when I was back on the Isle of Man. I knew it was there, I was aware of it, but it's in the box, it's okay. But now the box is open, and in the box is a coffin with my dad's body in it that I'm going to have to carry, or help to carry, as a pallbearer in, well, less than 48 hours time now. So I'm not feeling great. As you would expect, you're not supposed to feel great at times like this. It is the old saying, you know, you can't polish a turd. And this is just a massive fucking turd. I've been doing all of those stages of grief. I've been doing them all. I've been lying awake in bed at night, playing out scenarios where this doesn't happen, where we get a better outcome, where I understood more how serious my dad's condition was. It's like somehow when I came over here and saw him in critical care, which is like I say, that's the rebrand of intensive care, it didn't quite fully twig with me like how serious it is. If you're in critical care, there's a real risk that you're going to die, and yet me and my brother were talking to me dad, and it was all fine. It was okay, we'll get the digital photo frame and then, you know, make the hospital more comfortable for him, and 12 hours later he was in a medically induced coma that he never came out of. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you know, when he was yapping to us, and because he loves chatting, me dad. Like I say, if you think I'm a gobby fucker, you should try me dad on for size. Got it off him. He loves to chat and yap and chew the fat, and he wouldn't stop doing it. And the nurses kept coming in and said, right, you need to talk to him, you need to tell him things, he needs to focus on his breathing and keeping himself oxygenated. And my dad was getting, not cross with them, but he was like a little bit, well, he's out of his comfort zone then because he likes to chat. So we were trying to do that, and like every time he started talking, you could see his oxygen levels dropping, and particularly when he got upset, of course. So, and then I'm thinking, hang on a minute, knowing what I know now, if you could put me back to when he was first, when we first found out about the fall and he was in hospital. I'd have been over in there straight away and said, okay, Dad, listen to me, this is really important. You need to not be talking. You need to focus on your breathing. You need to focus on recovery. I know you're awake and you're conscious and you can talk to us, but that's not the most important thing right now. The most important thing right now is that you try and keep your lungs getting enough oxygen into you. And yet we didn't get it. And by the time I got over here, he was in critical care. And we were just chatting to him because we thought, oh, this is great. We're chatting to Dad. Not understanding that the last thing in the world he needed to be doing was using that precious oxygen to chat to us. But what you're going to do, naturally, you're going to want to talk to your dad. So, I mean, that's just one of many scenarios that I've played out. The whole lot, the anger, is that denial? I don't think it's denial, because I have accepted what's happened. I know the reality of it. Certainly the other four, I've got swimming around the whole time. And since I've come back to... traffic is fucking appalling, by the way. Look at that. Since I'm back in Bury here, it's all started to smash over me again. So I've passed a bit of time in the pub. I'll go back to the hotel now. I'm messaging my brother. I'm messaging Mrs. Degsy. I'm messaging friends. And I do have my ultimate Wi-Fi now. So I'm just going to sit down. I've still got the rest of my private eye to read. I've brought a book so I can sit down and read a book, see how it goes, but just find a quiet space in the hotel, have 2 or 3 beers, eat later on. I do have tomorrow meeting my friend to look forward to, and then on Wednesday it's my dad's funeral. So hopefully my next visit here will be for better reasons. I mean, it's hard to imagine that they'd be for worse reasons, really. Anyway, that's it. I'm just sat on the step. I've got out the sort of open a bit because there is a little bit of a wind, and I know it sounds shite when it's windy because the mic on the phone picks it up. But there we are. Definitely lost in the pub. I think it was 70 or 80. But like I said, I was playing for a decent chunk of time, all on minimum bets, so I'm not fussed about that. But for now, it's time to go back to the hotel. Right, this is not really working, my head's not functioning properly. I'm gonna go back to Spoons. That was an arcade, back in the day. That there, with 100% certainty, that was like an arcade and pool room place. Remember we used to go there when I was pretty little. They had loads, like I'm talking Scramble and Dig Dug and all that shit. Anyway, I'm back in town, the hotel was boring, had a couple of beers. I've got my ultimate Wi-Fi, I watched the new Gymquisition video and all that shit, but it's not working, it's too boring. So I've got to go right the long way around here, haven't I? So what I'm going to do is go back to Spoons, have a couple of beers, have a little gamble. Then there's a fried chicken place like just over the road, and I can get a fillet burger meal with some chips and gravy and stuff like that. I'm a bit bored with the menu now at the Premier, and that's the other problem. I've spent so many nights now in Premier Inns over the last month, I've kind of done the whole fucking menu, so I was looking down the menu, so there's nothing I really particularly fancy on here. So what I thought I'd do is I'll wander back up into town, we'll go to the Spoons, to the Art Picture House. We'll have a last little punt for the day on there. Then I'll get some fucking chicken and chips and go back to the hotel, which is just sort of down there. Yeah, me head's not in a good spot. It's kind of... We've got malfunctions and misfires and all kind of shit going on. And I realise this is not a healthy way to deal with it. But I don't know what else to do, so... Mrs. Degsy's there, we're chatting on WhatsApp, I could call her, I could FaceTime or whatever, but I'm not up to it, my head's not there, so I'm going to do this instead. I know it's wrong. Okay, let's not faff about. We'll do worms on £1 spins. It plays pretty quick, this thing, as well, so I don't want to go absolutely and completely mental here, because I am very much aware of where my head is, so, which is not good. So we need to, come on, it can do, you know, it can do kind of 20 dead spins if it wants to, near enough, this thing. There we are, a bit of fucking something. So let's see, we're getting 88% here. On £1 to go, you get 88%. This is one of the ones, by the way, that absolutely ruins you if you drop your bet. So you totally need to be going in on £1 to go on this one. That was not a great 20 quid, was it? I don't know about you, but fuck me, was that one win? One fucking bastard. Right, okay, fine. Yeah, fucking eat that, won't you? Right, there we are, so that's 40. Straight away, how long did that take? Was that like less than a minute? To take 20 quid? Fuck me. When the fun stops, stop. Oh, what's that? Come on. What you need to do really is land a feature. We need to get the little fizzy, or we need to get the actual bonuses dropping in the bonus crates on 2, 3, and 4. I am aware that this could go slightly sideways quite quickly, which I don't really want to happen. So, because it was all controlled and fine earlier, but I don't know. I was just getting super bored at the hotel. Didn't like it. I wasn't feeling comfortable. I didn't want to eat any of the food that was on the menu there, so possibly it's kind of looking like against my better judgment here, I decided to come back out, which in fairness I did know was a bad idea, but at least I've saved some money on the beer. Like coming to a Spoons, I've got cheap beer, if nothing else. So, oh god, how far? What are we going to give this? A ton? Maybe a ton? Give it a ton, and then fuck off. I think we've got to have a plan. Would be stretching it a bit, but we've got to have an idea here of when we're getting out before catastrophe occurs. So, okay, I'll tell you what. That's what I'll do. I'll get a ton into it. If I get a ton into it, I'm going to piss off. I've got my private eye in my back pocket, so I can just decamp to my private eye if needs be. Fucking hell, was that 40 fucking quid? I've only been recording for 3 minutes. Fucking twat. There's another 20 fucking quid going into the fucking bank. Well, this is fun, isn't it? 60 in already. Few basic win lines there. Nothing great. We haven't even had a fizz yet. It's a little bomb thing at the top. See the O of the Worms logo, which is your grenade. You want to see that fizzing, or you want to get? Oh, sorry, I'm hurrying along there. That's a bad sign as well. When you're tapping the button to hurry it along. So let's see. I am not going to do more than a ton. Absolute limit, 100. I'm going to sit down, finish my beer, read my private eye, and then go and get some food. So let's keep track. That's 60. 2 more 20s, and that's it. Oh, it's such a harsh game. I mean, 88% is not great, admittedly, for a random game, but it's like it's almost into the realms of the semi-respectable, I suppose, but the base game isn't going to... Oh, fucking... I've never had anything good on all those stacks of worms which are allegedly on the reels. Oh, there's a fizz. Oh, we've got it. What is it? Oh, camera card now. Ugh, the symbols are a bit shitty. Let's see so what they do. They come down from the top. Excuse me, I'm just getting a swig of beer. So we've got fairly shit symbols there. There's not much we can do. There isn't. It hasn't got much to work with here, in fairness. So they come down from the top. I mean, the aces, if you have a look, though. Oh, the aces are actually very close to the... that's not dreadful, is it? You know what? Okay. Let's not go nuts here. Maybe the madness should pass. Slightly aware I'm needing food. I've not been eating properly recently. We'll transfer that to credit. Oh, I tell you what. Hang on, let's give ourselves a point here. If we can get back to 60, because that was 60 on it. If I can get back to 60, I'll collect it. That's my goal now. The moment of madness has passed, and I'm going to try and get back to 60. If I can do that, I will collect it. Come on, let's have that. Let's get back to 60. Either way, I'm going to go and get some a fillet burger and chips and some chicken gravy. There isn't a KFC that I can find around Bury, but there are, like, you know, knockoff fried chicken joints, which I'm sure will be perfectly pleasant. So I'll do that, and I can take it back to my hotel room. I'm not particularly in the mood to eat in the hotel restaurant again. As nice as it is, and as nice as the staff are, I don't know. It just wasn't quite doing it for me this evening, and I just had to get out for a bit. So, come on, you bastards! Oh, fizz, 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 fizz! Oh, I missed, you bastard! So we've got a 50% hit rate on the fizz at the moment. We have 2 fizzes, one of them hit. On a good run, it can actually be very nice on the fizzes. On a bad run, it can get really, really annoying. I think the hit rate probably is somewhere around 50%. It's just like with any 50% gamble, you can get good ones and bad ones. So, come on, you fudger. Oh, that's hurried it up again there. You see, didn't see the win line. The win lines on these blueprints, I don't know why they do it like this. The win lines are really weird. I don't know why you would have these kind of non-standard win lines that are win lines, but then win lines or things that look like they should be win lines that aren't. So that's a design. Oh, we got, see, God, that's pretty rare, you know. Sorry, you'll have to excuse me. I was just having a swig of beer there. It'd be so nice, you know, if you could just find. I mean, when was the last time you could find a pinball in the pub? That was like a really, really common sight. In the 1990s, you would go to a pub and they'd have pinballs, they'd have video games, and they'd have quiz machines and stuff like that. All gone now, which I guess, I mean, I am kind of proving the point here. Why would you have those things in a pub where, you know, like a pound, heaven forfend, could get you like a few minutes of entertainment when they can just have these things there instead? Oh, my fingers, some of my fingers, I've just realised, oh, what's that? Holy hand grenade. Right, okay. My finger was getting there. I just realised my finger was like completely over the lens. So, what's that? What's it doing? Is that it? It might do a respin. It might do a respin. No, that was really bad as well. Oh, fizz, fizz, fizz. Go on. Yes. Okay, what is it? It's a golden donkey. It's just a random win, this one. Oh, that's going to be crap. It's not counting up fast enough. 20 quid maybe at the tops. Yeah, 14. You can kind of tell by how... Yeah, okay. I am really, really fighting just to get back up to 60 at this point. I'm kind of at the spot now where that little moment has passed. I recognise it. I know what it is. Oh, come on, fizz, fizz, fizz. Come on. Oh, you know, can't really complain. The fizz ratio has not been terrible up to this point. But yeah, I know where my head is. Oh, come on, fizz, 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 fizz. Come on, yeah, you fucking fucker. They are such bastards for these teasers blueprint, they really are. So yeah, I know where my heads are. I know what I need to do at this point, frankly, is go and get some food, go back to the hotel and just hunker down for the night. Tomorrow I'm going to meet my friend. That'll be fine. And then move into the funeral on Wednesday. That's the big fucking thing in my head now. Is I know it's my dad's funeral on Wednesday. I'm really hoping that once that's done, once the funeral is done, and once the wake is done, that maybe a little bit of my brain can start to close it off, at least to some extent, even if it's just a small extent. Well, it's gone really fucking dead, this thing, hasn't it? What a fucking wanker. It was looking halfway promising for a second there, wasn't it? And now it's gone all shitty again. I'd love to be able to play... Oh, fucking all them fucking stats. I'd love to be able to play this one on 25p. Right, okay, fine. You twat. There we are. I did say a ton, didn't I? Right, there we are. That's 80, isn't it? So I've been recording for 11 minutes on. Nearly 12 minutes. That's 80 quid. On a pub fruit. I mean, Jesus God almighty. And to think, you know, these were like £4.80 jackpot machines back in the day. All wins over £2.40. Look at this now. I'm not doing any more past 100. 100 is my absolute limit on this. So it can be a harsh game, this. If you're not hitting the features, it can be a harsh game. Right. Fucking bastard. Oh, dude, that was relentless, wasn't it? Fucking hell. Okay. Right. Last one. Ah, bollocks to this fucking shit. Right, last one. Last one. There you go. Look at that. It fucking chews that fucker up, doesn't it? Right, absolute last one. That's a ton in, on top of what I lost before. No wonder they've got 4 or 5 of these fuckers in every single pub, eh? When they can do this to the average passing punter. Jesus God almighty. What the fuck is this now? Fucking hell. Anything? Anything at all? Oh, so I've clicked on it again. I'm getting annoyed now. There we go. There we go. We've got a £3 win and 5 quid. Amazing. Because that's 100 quid here. 100 quid going into this in no time at all. Maybe it'll do a little kickback. I need a swig of my beer. No wonder they make these nice, swishy, sexy cabinets with all the bloody flashing lights on and all that shit. And basically, I need the jackpot now, don't I? I need 100 quid now to get back to where I started. That's quite a big ask. There's quite a few queens there, though, isn't there? I'll see it out, but it is going to need to be something quite decent at this point, really. Let's face it. Well, I kind of knew I should have stayed at the hotel. And, oh, come on, Fizz, you fucking fucker. You fucking fuck. Fucking Fizz. Sorry, my language is becoming slightly intemperate. I'm very aware of that fact. Oh, fuck this shit. Ah, fuck you. 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 Absolutely fucking you. Fuck that shit. Right, I'm done. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to finish my beer and read Private Eye. Well, I did leave it. I do still have beer. I do still have money. But where is it, you fucker? Hey, round there. That was a bad 100 quid, wasn't it? Fucking hell, how long did that take to spend? Not long. There's quite a good Grand National Private Eye cartoon. So yeah, it's slightly it slipped for a moment. So I think the best thing to do now probably is get some food and go back to the hotel and hunker down for the evening and see if tomorrow feels any better. Which it probably won't, but it's just getting over the hump now. Got to get to Wednesday, survive through that, and then see how my head is the day after. It's not great, this shit. It really isn't. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say having your dad die completely unexpectedly and then having him literally die in your arms as you hold him in the hospital is an absolute fucking 0 out of 10. Would not recommend. There we are. I've been to Nabsy's Fried Chicken. The guy in there seemed very nice. I've got some mini feast thing. I get a burger, I get some popcorn chicken, a couple of strips, some chips and a can of pop. I'll watch some shit on YouTube and message Mrs. Degsy and family and friends and stuff. That'll be fine. Done for tonight. That little period of madness, that little moment of madness has passed, but it wasn't very nice when it was happening. Anyway, for now, fried chicken. Oh, get the fuck in there. Fillet burger, we've got chips and some little popcorn things, a couple of strips maybe in there. Thanks, Nabsy. This looks really good. I've just realised how fucking hungry I am because I have not been eating properly or sleeping properly or anything else properly basically for the last month at this point. Okay, so here we are on Tuesday the 23rd of May. It's just coming up to 9 o'clock. I'm going to walk up into town and get a Costa. I've got to pass the morning on and then I'm going to go down to Manchester, just sort of south of central Manchester, to meet me mate. We're going to go out for a few beers and get something to eat. That's your chicken place, by the way, there, Nabsy's. If you're in Bury and you fancy some chicken and chips, I would recommend it. I very much enjoyed my mini feast meal last night. That was very pleasant. Just for the record, by the way, I did walk away from the machine with a chunk of cash. That's £180 cash there that I walked away from the machine from. So it's not like I went absolutely and completely bananas. I brought an amount of money over with me that I was comfortable with spending, so I've still got a chunk left for today. And yeah, I did walk away from the machine with an amount of cash about me. Just a little bit of a blowout there. It could have gone either way, you know. I could have won, but I didn't, so fine, I'll take that quick £100 kicking. Couple of bits of other news, by the way. The funeral has been paid for out of my dad's bank account. There is a process that you can go through, forms that you can fill in once you've got the death certificate, or in our case, the fact of death certificate. Me and my brother had to do like digital signatures and stuff, and they released the funds to pay for the funeral. So that was something that we thought we'd be able to pay thousands of pounds for. But what's happened is my dad actually paid for his own funeral after he died. It all sounds a bit grim, doesn't it? The other thing, by the way, is the insurance we got sorted out through a little bit of a process again. There was some back and forth and emails and documents once we got the fact of death certificate, but my brother and I were able to be named as third parties on my dad's insurance policy, even without the probate solicitor and all that stuff. So we were able to progress the digital claim that we put in. The most recent update on that is, should we look out the window? The most recent update on that is that the insurance company sent an assessor down to the house. My brother met them, and the insurance company have agreed to fix the house, basically. They had a look at it and said, wow, that's a bit fucked, isn't it? Yes, this is covered by your dad's policy. We will get some building contractors out to get this fixed. And that should be starting in the next, probably about the next week or so from now. So the house is getting fixed as well on my dad's insurance policy. I mean, it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the most important thing, but you know, we were staring down the barrel of a bill for maybe 10, 11, 12,000 pounds between the funeral and fixing my dad's house. But that has been covered by the funeral from my dad's bank account, and the house is getting sorted on my dad's insurance, because my brother and I are now third parties on the policy. So that's something at least. So today, got the morning to pass. I think I'll have a walk up into town, get a Costa, and then I'm going to get my arse down Manchester later on to meet up with my friend, and we'll go out for a few beers and grab something to eat. And then tomorrow is the funeral. I've got me got some black pants, or trousers, I think. Apparently it's a very northwestern thing to call trousers pants. Everybody else thinks they're underwear, but northwesterners' pants are trousers. I've got a black shirt from M&S, and I've got a black tie. So that will be my attire for the funeral tomorrow. And then back to the Isle of Man on Thursday. I do feel a little bit better today than I did yesterday. I've been messaging my brother this morning, but yeah, we're both in a bit of a rough spot, as you can imagine. Anyway, I'm going to go and get myself a coffee. Right, so this will be a little bit of an adventure. I've never got off at this stop before. It's Deansgate Castlefield. And I need to walk from here to Potato Wharf, which is where my friend lives. I've scoped it out on Google Maps. I'm pretty sure I know where I go. And there's Deansgate train station. Up there is Deansgate Castlefield metro station. It's just so fucking good, the Metrolink, isn't it? My goodness. I mean, they said, oh yeah, everyone needs to get into electric cars. No, we don't. We need to get good fucking mass public transport like that. Anyway, I now have a walk to Potato Wharf. I've just done this on Google Maps before in the hotel, so I think this will be fine. I'm gonna have to get across this big scary road though. If I had a black marker with me, I'd really want to scrub that G out there, but that's the level of humour I'm at sometimes. There we are, piece of piss. Although, admittedly, Google Maps has helped a bit there. And the directions that my friend gave me said, your best bet, just go up Deansgate, down Liverpool Road, and then into Potato Wharf. So that is what I have done. As I said the other day, this is the guy out at Gambling Low Ebbs Part 1 whose student house up in York I fucked up. We've known each other forever. We were literally playing out in the back-ins together before we even went to infant school. We went to the same infant, junior, senior school. I had 3 years out down in Chelmsford when I was living with my mum for a bit to finish my GCSEs, and back up to Bury. We went to the same college, split up again at university, but we've stayed in touch ever since, our whole lives. He's visited me on the Isle of Man. He basically came over every single year. The only thing that threw a spanner in the works with that was COVID. And I've also said to him, you know what, I've never actually called him, because he used to live down south, that's the thing, he lived down in Milton Keynes for years and years and years, but he moved back up to Manchester 4 years ago, something like that. So I said, next time I cross, I'll come and see you, which is what I've done this time. So even though, of course, the whole time itself, this period of time is horrible, the last 5 weeks, I've been thinking about it, it's just over 5 weeks now since my dad went into hospital. Despite that, I'm actually kind of looking forward to today and spending a bit of time with my old mate. Yes, tomorrow is my dad's funeral, but for now I'll focus on spending some time with me mate. It's quite nice down here, isn't it, really? Right, I think that's him in one of them up there, right on the canal. It's very picturesque. You know, you're just like a stone's throw away from Manchester city centre as well, and yet here you've got this nice secluded, peaceful little spot. I don't know where you get in. He did say I could just ring his mobile and it'll come out. I want to try and work out access for myself. Apparently there is an intercom and I can just press the button for his flat, or apartment I suppose you should call it. If I knowing him as I do, I suspect he probably won't want to be on YouTube, so I think the most we're going to get is you might be able to hear his voice taking the piss out of me as I lose money on the machines, but we'll see about that. Right, here we go, let's have a crack. Hi Vic, so this is where we're having a beer. Gaz thinks it's very nice and picturesque down here, but then you are getting charged £12, Gaz, for 2 pints.
Worth it.
Well, this is the circles that we're moving in when we come to stay with Gaz. So we're going to have a wander down the canal, and then where are we going next?
A brothel.
A brothel. Right, okay. I'm going to have to stop that conversation right here, Vic, because Gaz has said something inappropriate. It's all very picturesque, but hugely, hugely expensive, which is not what you'd expect for Manchester. Here we are, Vic. Manchester has changed a bit. Look at the size of that building there, which has got the world's biggest screen on the side of it. Gaz doesn't even know what it is, but it's all quite shiny and glitzy and built up since we were last here. Hi, Poop. We've come to it's like a games hall thing across 2 floors that Gaz knows about, called the, what's it called, Gaz? The Roxy Ballroom.
Yeah.
The Roxy Ballroom, where you can play many different games. Gaz, however, has chosen to beat me very badly at pool. It's all right in here, though. We're going to get another drink or 2, and then we're going to go to Chinatown. Is that the plan, Gaz?
That's the plan.
We're going to go to Chinatown and get Chinese, and that will round off the evening, and that will get me back into the hotel later on. Gaz is feeling good because he's beating me 2-0 at pool, and he's clearly up for more, aren't you, Gaz? Is that a yes?
You know, if necessary.
He's a bit camera shy, but I think that's a yes. Come on then, Rickham. Okay, we are staying in this Roxy Ballroom place. We've gone upstairs and they've actually got a full crazy golf course. And me and Gaz were just saying to each other, well, we could go to the pub or we could just go upstairs and play a silly round of fluorescent crazy golf, get another beer, have a bit of fun. We are enjoying it. He beat me at pool. He's slightly beating me at golf, and he's very competitive. He does like to win things, so we'll have one more beer here, then we're going to go down to Chinatown, get a Chinese for our tea, then I can get the metro back to Bury, and then tomorrow will be my dad's funeral. But I'll tell you what, this has been good. This has been a good time. I've spent a few hours with my friend. Not a single pound has gone into any machine, any fruit machine, gambling machine of any description. We've had a few beers, we've had a good chat, we've played some pool, and now we're having a little silly game of mini golf to finish things off with before we go and get some food. It's exactly what I needed, was just a little bit of salve for the soul. Okay, I'm back in Bury now. I've bought some food, some kind of chicken fillet burger, chips and gravy meal with a drink. I'm not even hungry, but I haven't eaten for over 24 hours now. I haven't had a single morsel of food. And I know I need to eat. I keep doing this. I keep going 24, 30, 36 hours without food. So I know I need to eat before tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm one of the people who's going to be carrying my dad's fucking coffin at the funeral, because I'm going to be a pallbearer. On the plus side, I had a really good time with my friend. We had spent a good few hours together, had a few beers, we chewed the fat and chatted over this, that and everything in the world. Not a single pound was spent on the machines. We ended up at this place, I'll find a link to it. He said, oh, you might like it here, the Roxy Ballroom it's called. You can play like all sorts of games. You've got pool and that fucking thing they've got at the Olympics where you slide the fucking things along the icy path and all that. It's all like physical games where you're interacting with physical things. And we went upstairs and found they had like a crazy golf course. Now, we were going to go on for food. We were going to go to Chinatown and get Chinese. But I was like, hang on, do you fancy a game of this fucking crazy golf thing here? Which he didn't know they had upstairs. Let's get another beer and play this fucking crazy golf game. And it took longer than we were expecting. So it had like 12 holes and it was really good. Oh, hang on, I'm gonna get run over here if I'm not fucking careful. And really enjoyed it. It was just good fun. So, but once we'd done with that, time was getting on a little bit. Would you be offended if I just got the Metrolink back to Bury, get some food? I've got to get my head down in the hotel, ready for the funeral tomorrow. It was like, no problem. And it was, like I say, we had a good time together. There was no need, urge, desire to gamble at all. I don't do well. I've realised this here, particularly over this last 5 weeks or so. I don't do well in emotionally vulnerable situations when I'm by myself. So, something to watch out for. I've learned something. I kind of knew it already, but it's really brought it home to me. So what I'm going to do now is go back to my room. I have got some, I believe there's a spicy chicken burger, some chips, a pot of gravy. I've got a can of pop. I'll eat that. And then tomorrow, it's my dad's funeral. And I'll be a pallbearer and help to carry his coffin. Which is not great, that's shit. But for now, I'll focus on the fact that I've got some chicken and chips to eat. Here I am back at the hotel. Metrolink did its job, got me back into Bury okay. Cannot, I know I'm fucking repeating myself, cannot sing the praises of the Metrolink enough. Fuck me, that system moves some people around every day. But here we are, chicken and chips time.
In the kitchen, I'm taking a spell. I'm rolling it. Our girls dance the ballroom, then she comes, staring from and I shake my head, and it's only the giving that makes you what you are.
His unexpected passing shortly thereafter has left a massive heart-shaped hole at the family collector. And whilst we mourn today, we must also be extremely thankful for the amazing time we spent with this wonderfully generous, selfless, caring and completely bonkers man. He was a loyal son, brother, gramps, father-in-law, friend, and a dear, dear old worldly father. Devoted, loving, eccentric, unfiltered, and irreplaceable. He will be missed terribly, but rest assured, his memory will live on. Jim Maroney, the man in a hat.
So there we go, that's my dad's funeral and the wake mostly done now. There's a few of us left, but people are leaving now, so it's probably not long to go. I'm not going to walk out onto the course here. The wake is being held at Harwood Golf Club because this was the golf club that my dad played a lot at, my brother played a lot at, and was indeed the club professional here for a while too. But you can see there are still people playing, so I'm not going to start wandering out over the fairways or anything like that. It's kind of all done now. It's been one of them where it's been nice to see family and get back together and have a chat, see people we haven't seen for a while. But all, of course, against the backdrop of my dad now being gone. The funeral has brought a certain sense of finality to it, which I think many of us needed. It was a lovely service. The eulogy was really good. I kicked it off, but it was my brother and sister-in-law who really kind of wrote the eulogy with a lot of input from one of my uncles, my dad's brother. Truth is that my dad was a bigger part of their day-to-day lives and had been for many years, where of course I moved over to the Isle of Man in 1996. I don't actually, very unusually for me, I don't actually have a huge amount to say at this moment. It feels like the end of the first stage of a process that I think will still take a while, which is to kind of readjust to a world where my dad doesn't exist, that he's not part of. And I think one thing which I was kind of hoping it would, and I think it has, that the funeral now, you know, I helped carry my dad's coffin. I was a pallbearer. Spoiler alert, coffins are really fucking heavy. Even with 6 of you carrying them, do be prepared for that. There's a fair amount of weight that you're going to have to carry, but I think that the 6 of us who were doing it were absolutely determined that we weren't going to fuck it up. So yeah, it's been a day. It's been a day, and it's been what, 5.5 weeks at this point. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of big stuff going on, a lot of horrible stuff going on, but you know, everybody else is left at the end of it. We're still on our own 2 feet, and we're still talking to each other, and we're still, even in the midst of all the sadness, there's been stuff to be happy about, there's stuff to talk about, memories of me dad and all the rest of it. It is what everyone goes through this. It's loss of someone close to you, loss of someone who you love, and you process it one little piece at a time, and eventually this mountain of pain and hurt becomes diminished and manageable, and I guess eventually you will be left with just those fond memories and thoughts of the good times, and the hurt over time will become less and less. At the moment the hurt is still pretty big, but this has been an important day, I think, to get over. And you know what? Just once more, we've got just absolutely picture perfect weather, which as daft as it sounds, it helps, because you know, when we're stood outside at the crematorium, everyone's standing outside in the sunshine. There is a little bit of a breeze now, but it was just this warm, pleasant, still day, and it has been the whole time. So at least none of us were, you know, we weren't getting piss wet through or having a fucking gale blowing around us, waiting to go inside. And you know, people have been able to stand outside here at the golf club this evening, that kind of thing. As like I said, daft as it sounds, it's just one of those little things that, I mean, this is lovely, isn't it? And this is the golf course that my dad and brother, and me as well, back in the day when my brother was becoming a bit of a golf prodigy, we walked up and down these fairways so many times, and my dad loved playing here as well. I think he got to a handicap of 14, which is, you know, for an amateur player is semi-respectable. And that's why we chose to have the wake here at Harwood Golf Club. But it is drawing to a close now, and I think I will probably get a taxi back to the hotel in the not too distant future. And then tomorrow morning I've got a fairly early start to get back to the Isle of Man. So that is it. That is my dad's funeral done and the wake drawing to a close. Okay, there's a few of us left now. It's the closest family members that are left remaining. It's getting slightly messy with the beer, I think it's fair to say. Over at Harwood Golf Club, I'm gonna go back to my brother and sister-in-laws for one or two more perhaps, and we're gonna see out the night properly and give a proper send-off to my dad and just keep talking and chatting, and it's all good, it's all in good spirit. I've got to know, this is the thing, I've got to know the family on my sort of brother's side that he married into. I've known them, we're all in good terms, we're all friends, but they are the most gorgeously bonkers people I have ever met, and I mean that in the best possible way. My sister-in-law and her sister and other family members from that side, you know, like my sister-in-law's mum. It's been really, really nice. We're a few beers in at this point, and we're going to go back to my brother's place. The golf has finished now, so I can actually walk out across the fairways. This is better. I much prefer this to be with family. You know, they're being kicking around the pubs of Bury by myself. No problem whatsoever. This is actually quite nice. I'm getting slightly drunk, and I've got an early start tomorrow, so I'm going to have to slightly moderate my alcohol intake. But this has been really nice, and like I say, I just love it, because one of the words that was used about my dad in the eulogy that my brother and sister-in-law deliberately put in was the word bonkers. And my family on the side that my brother married into, my sister-in-law and her sister and her mum and that side of the family, they are all bonkers. And I mean that in the best possible way, like interesting and amusing. There's been crying, there's been laughing, there's been, you know, expunging of all kinds of stories and things from the past, but all in a good and positive way. So on the day of my dad's funeral, I will take that. It's been great. It's been horrible, but it's been great as well. And I think we're going back to my brother's now for drinks that I probably don't need at this point. But I'll do that anyway. I'll get a taxi back to the hotel, and then in the morning I've got a start, which at this point in time of the evening is looking rather ominous in terms of where I am. Maybe we can get like a takeaway or some pizzas or something. But anyway, it's been, I wouldn't say nice, because it's the day of my dad's funeral, but the funeral and the wake, and it's done that one big thing where the family comes together and you just talk to each other, and you these new connections are made, because my dad was a big part in their lives. It's like, okay, something here has been destroyed, something here has been ripped away. A fundamental pillar of this family now has gone. It's died, it's gone. But we will work around it. We will build new paths. We will start to forge new ways to work together as a family. So even though my dad was a huge part on the scene, we're going to fix it. We're going to find a new way forward, and we're going to go on into the future. It's not when or how or why we would have chosen to do it, but we're not going to curl up in a little ball and die. We're going to carry on. here we are, Thursday the 25th of May, the day after my dad's funeral. I'm all packed up. Got me hold baggage and hand baggage there, which is the right size to allow them to let you have it on Loganair in the cabin. All my rubbish. I always like to leave my hotel rooms nice and clean. I'm very much aware that a real person has to come in here and clean this later on. So I always kind of try to leave it as I found it so that their job is as easy as possible. My flight isn't until 12:35, but Manchester Airport is so notoriously shit and horrible. I'll show you the time. See there, 7:31. It's about an hour and 35 down on the Metrolink. Then you've got to walk over to T3. Then you've got to get through fucking security. And so I'd rather get there super early and not have to. I don't want to miss my flight. I do want to get home. Funeral yesterday, but the wake actually turned out to be really good. I was one of the last few standing, along with my brother, my sister-in-law, her sister, their mum, and the children, and then we all actually went back to theirs as well. Had a glass of wine at their house. What is the official name? What is my sister-in-law's mum? Because it's not my mother-in-law, but I don't know what the official terminology is. But anyway, I saw her home. We got a taxi, dropped her off on the way back to the hotel. So I made sure that she got through the front door okay and that she was all right, because frankly, we were all getting slightly well-oiled by that point. And then I just got the taxi straight back to Bury. And it was like, God, it was 11:30 when I got back to Bury. Bearing in mind that the wake had started at, 4:30? So it had been quite a long one. And it was of a time where I just thought, fuck, I didn't even bother getting food, so I'm going to do another. It'll be, by the time I get down to the airport and settled into departures, it'll be 24 hours without food again. So I'll get something to eat down there. Once again, look at that, just perfect. But I think I am going to set off, because I hate Manchester Airport. Everyone I've spoken to who've been through Manchester Airport just says it's one of the worst airports. Everyone fucking hates the place. My friend who I went out with on Tuesday, he was saying, yeah, he set alarms for himself. Bearing in mind that he lives down sort of the south side of central Manchester, he's had alarms that have gone off at 3 a.m. to get a flight at 8 o'clock or something like that. It's that bad down there. So maybe it'll go smoothly for me, maybe it won't. There were all them stories on the news last year, people getting stuck for 3 to 4 hours getting through security, so I don't want to take any chances. As lovely as it's been to see all the family, and I've done the thing I wanted to do, that was get here for me dad's funeral, be a pallbearer, and see everyone, and then get to the wake. And the wake, like I say, the wake turned out to be really nice. But now, my job for today is getting home. So I'm going to kick that off, and you can see there's Metrolink tracks. How fucking convenient is that? I can ride one Metrolink into Manchester, I just literally just go over the platform, and I can ride another one down to Manchester Airport. So I'm going to get that underway. Right, I'm actually recording this audio in post, as it's known, which means just after the fact, basically. So the trip back went okay. Metrolink down into Manchester, as I said I would. Then it's literally just the other side of the platform that you come into Manchester Victoria on. You can't get one that goes all the way from Bury to Manchester Airport. You do have to change at Manchester Victoria, but like I say, it's 6 feet away on the other side of the platform. Then you've got the other Metrolink that takes you all the way down to Manchester Airport. It's a fair slog down to Manchester Airport. That's by far the longer part of the journey, is getting the Metrolink down to Manchester Airport from Manchester Victoria. From there, it was into Manchester Airport itself, which kind of went okay. I got there 3 hours early, but check-in didn't open until 2 hours before the flight. Then Loganair only put one person on check-in, and there were at least 2 flights that they were checking baggage in for, and the fucking conveyor belt thing was broken. So everyone was having to faff through the kind of baggage inspection place, but they fixed that. The baggage conveyor belt started working again just as I got to the front of the queue. Then after, so that was really slow. So you had one person checking in at least 2 flights with the baggage thing being fucked. Then you've got to go through security. I hate security at Manchester Airport. They have at least got rid of the little shouting Nazi now and replaced him with a constant voiceover that plays with a woman telling you how if you fuck up on your bag, you're going to be kept waiting for ages and all that shit. Got through okay. The point is that I got to the airport 3 hours early, and by the time I got to departures, I wasn't exactly spoiled for time. This for me is the whole farce of flying when it's a short distance like the trip to and from the Isle of Man, because you've got to get to the airport so far ahead of your flight that the time advantage of flying is gone, and flying itself is fucking... I don't really like flying, I do prefer the boat, but it worked okay. In fairness, the trip there and the trip back, everything basically went on time. There were no big problems, no big disasters, and I did get back to the Isle of Man. That's the plane landing there, and that was that. We were at Ronaldsway Airport.
Thank you for flying with Logan Air today. We look forward to being of service to you in the near future. For those passengers who require special assistance, kindly remain seated until assistance becomes available. Thank you and good afternoon.
So the final chapter of this story finishes where it started a few days ago, in the long stay car park of Ronaldsway Airport on the Isle of Man. I am absolutely shattered. Physically and mentally, I am absolutely fucked. This whole thing now, it's just shy of 6 weeks since my dad was originally hospitalised, and it finished yesterday with his funeral. But I'm home now. When the aeroplane's wheels actually hit the runway, my whole body just went, oh, thank fuck. I'm home. It's been a lot. It really has been a lot. And I think I start to need to recover and heal now. And on that note, I don't really have much else to say at this moment in time. I am just going to go home. I need to see my wife and daughter. That'll do it for this one. I'll catch up with you next time. That's it for this one. Actually, since landing, I have just realised, it's like my appetite has come back, and like my body's just gone, you need food, motherfucker. You need food. So I'm going to get a Mackey's. I'm going to get a Mackey's drive-through, and I can have that on the way back home. All of a sudden, I just became aware, my body said, you need to eat something, man. I haven't been eating right. I've said that on the videos before, but it just hit me. All of a sudden, my body demanded food, so I'm going to get a Mackey's. So I'll just do a little outro to wrap this one up. I have now pretty much completed the edit on the video. It's taken a while to kick it into shape, which is fine. I don't mind that. I actually quite enjoy the process of doing it. And it is a useful exercise, I think, perhaps in organising everything in my own brain. Yeah, so the video's basically done, ready to go. Get it rendered out and uploaded. As I record this, it's the Saturday, which is, what date is it? I've got the wrong glasses on for that. 27th, there we are, yeah, Saturday the 27th. So I have been back on the island now a couple of days. Came back on Thursday afternoon. First full day back yesterday. Now we're into Saturday. It's a long weekend as well. So it's a bank holiday weekend, so that's nice. So yeah, just to reiterate really what I put in the final little sort of closing credit sequence. The truth of the matter is, and I was having this chat with Mrs. Degsy a couple of weeks ago, I had a similar conversation with my mum at the wake, which is that in truth, our day-to-day lives don't really change very much. I was saying to Mrs. Degsy, you know, the truth is we didn't see an awful lot of Dad. You know, we moved over here in 1996. Obviously, Mrs. Degsy's from the Isle of Man. Oh, look, they're clever, these crows, aren't they? Dropping them on the floor. They know how to drop things on the floor to break them, don't they? But yeah, I mean, we moved to the Isle of Man in 1996. Mrs. Degsy's from here originally, so she was kind of coming home in that regard. But that I was moving here permanently, having visited a couple of times. And prior to moving over here, and there were some pictures in the closing little montage there, me and Mrs. Degsy lived at my dad's house. I think it was for about 18 months. Certainly she did a 1-year course at Bury College, and I think she'd been there a bit longer than that as well. So we actually lived in the house with my dad for about 18 months, and like I put in that little montage there, he just treated her like family. It was just, all right, yeah, you're going out with my son, are you? Yeah, no problem. It's your house now as well. And we lived with him for that period of time up until us moving to the Isle of Man. We actually lived with my dad in that house that you saw in the first video. But once I was over here and I lived on the Isle of Man, it was difficult at first. I really found it difficult. I was very homesick. I was very kind of family sick as well. I was missing my family, that kind of network of family members and friends that I had over there. And I think my dad knew that because he visited very regularly in the early years of me living here. He visited on a very, very regular basis. He was coming over all the time, often with my brother as well, but sometimes by himself. And every time he went back to Manchester, it was like a gut punch that hurt for days and days. I remember, like, pining for him when he left. I mean, Mrs. Degsy she knew that after my dad had visited and then gone back home, she knew that I'd be in a dark spot for a few days. And this persisted for a few years. Gambling Low Ebbs Part 3, which has just gone back online, that blowout in 2001. So I'd been here 5 years at that point, and I was kind of expecting Mrs. Degsy's mum and dad to tell me to sling me hook, because at the time we were living in a flat. It was called a flat, but it's kind of just a house. It started one floor up, that was all, because at the time Mrs. Degsy's mum owned a shoe shop in Ramsey, and there was essentially a house above the shop, and we were living there on we were paying rent, but it was certainly way below what you'd pay for something like that in the market, because it had just been sat empty for years. So we were living essentially in their property and paying rent, and I was the car that I smashed up at the back of that property, that was Mrs. Degsy's mum and dad's property. Smashed a car up in the sort of parking spaces at the back of the shop, and I was expecting them to tell me to sling me hook. Like, right, we've had it with you, piss off kind of thing. But they didn't. They were concerned. They wanted to know what was wrong. They wanted to know what was going on. They wanted to help. And Mrs. Degsy was the same. She didn't say, all right, fuck it, I've had it with you, off you go. And it was kind of part of that process of realising you can have a different home and you can create a new family, if you will. And that was kind of like a watershed moment, because I remember thinking that, well, I'm going to be fucking thrown out on my ear here, and Mrs. Deggsy might tell you to fuck off as well. And neither of those things happened. So over a period of time, my head made the switch to living on the Isle of Man. I started to think of, it became in my head, this is my home and I have a family here now. And I think my dad kind of cottoned on to that, because he still came to visit, don't get me wrong. He was here for our wedding in 1998, which he paid half for. He paid half of the cost of that as well. And it wasn't a cheap wedding either. He visited all the time. He was here when my daughter was born, or our daughter was born. He was here within the first week. There's a couple of pictures that I've put up in that montage at the end of the video. And he did continue to visit. We saw him over the years many times, and I went across many times, and Mrs. Deggsy came across with me as well, and we saw him in Manchester. But the frequency of it tailed off a little bit over the years, and I think part of that was because I had sort of transitioned to this is now my home. And whilst I always have my family back in the UK, in Manchester, I now have a family here as well. A new network of friends and all the rest of it. So, yeah, I mean, day to day, month to month, the truth is I didn't really see my dad. I mean, we would talk on the phone sometimes, and whenever we were over, we would see him. But at some point, the Isle of Man became my home. So it's a lot harder. Much harder for my brother and sister-in-law and their children and the family over there, because Dad was a bigger part of their day-to-day lives. They saw him, 2 or 3 times a week. He would go to family events and all that kind of thing. But for us here, day-to-day, it hasn't changed that much. And a lot of my my memories of Dad and my closeness to him are kind of historical. Not least, of course, the fact that I wouldn't be here at all, but for the fact that he refused to give up on me through the worst years of those addictions and attendant problems, shall we say. So that's where a lot of my sort of closeness and that kind of feeling of a bond with my dad comes from, is honestly slightly historical. And that was reflected in the eulogy. I did a kind of first bash at the eulogy just to kind of get it off the ground. Sent it over to my brother and sister-in-law, and they kind of ran with it from there. One of my uncles put quite a lot of stuff in there as well. And I did kind of say to my mum ahead of time, just so you know, Mum, the eulogy is pretty long and we're not in it much. I was like, and I said, you know what? I think that's fine, because day to day, Dad was a bigger part of the lives here, and I think that was reflected in the eulogy. I mean, we were in there, don't get me wrong, and like I say, Dad was here for our wedding, he was here for the birth of our daughter, and we saw him many times over the years. But it's harder for everyone over there, because their day-to-day lives now are very, very different, whereas my day-to-day life here, the day-to-day life of my family, honestly doesn't really change that much. But it's still very difficult, and I'm still having to catch myself thinking about something that my dad could do. I remember when I was making the plans to get over for Dad's funeral, and we were trying to sort, 'cause I flew, and we were trying to sort out some way of getting the sailing done, but it just didn't work with my brother's golf comp, which had been booked for months, and it was a major regional comp that he really needed to be in. But a bit of my head went, don't be daft, Dad can pick you up. And then the rest of my head went, no, Dad can't pick you up because you're going to his funeral. He's dead now. That's not going to happen. But my brain just leaped to, oh, Dad can pick you up, because he'd done that so many times over the years when I sailed over. And my brother said he's having the same thing, that they were at some family thing the other week, and I think one of the children wanted to go home, but my brother wanted to stay, and my brother's head just went, oh, Dad can come and get me child. And then the rest of his head went, no, Dad can't come and collect anyone because he's dead, and that's going to happen. So Mrs. Deggsy was saying, well, one of her friends, her mum died a couple of years ago, and she was very close with her parents. She lost both her parents within a year. It was horrible, and she was very close with her mum and dad. And one of the things that they do, when they both watch Strictly Come Dancing separately from each other in their own houses, but when Strictly Come Dancing had finished, the daughter would ring her mum up to have a gossip about Strictly, and she was saying, Mrs. Deggsy was saying to me, because her friend had been saying to her, that yeah, even 2 years down the line, when she'll watch Strictly, and a little bit of her will almost start to reach for her phone to call her mum, to talk to her about Strictly, and her mum died 2 years ago. So I'm aware there's a process here to go through, and it's going to take some time, and I am prepared for that. But being back on the Isle of Man, this is the right place for me to be, because what I was saying before, this is now my home, and I made that switch. I'd say it really clicked for me in the early 2000s, maybe. I don't know when exactly it happened, and it wasn't like flicking a switch, but around 2002, 3, 4. Our daughter was born in 2004, so sometime around there, and after the events of Gambling Low Ebbs Part 3, my head made that switch. My brain made that switch, and this is home. This is where I live, and I have family here. But obviously I'll always have a connection, a very strong connection with Manchester, and a very strong connection with my dad, who is now gone. And even though he wasn't part of our day-to-day lives in a big way, because at the end of the day I moved to live somewhere else, but it's still a loss that is very keenly felt. So I think that is about it for this one now. I'll just tack this onto the end of the video and get that up probably in the next day or two. But yeah, well, I think we are Saturday the 27th as I record this. So we are now 6 weeks since my dad was originally hospitalised. So it has been a bit of a one, hasn't it? But there we are. There is a certain peace here on the island. I think I did need this. I do kind of wonder if my lifestyle in Manchester would have got the better of me, despite the heroic efforts of my dad. I think there was part of me knew that I needed to be somewhere else, and I found that new home here. So I'll wrap this one up. Thank you very much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will catch up with you next time. Oh, before I say goodbye, there's a couple of Fruit Machine stuff videos coming. Been in touch with the guy over at Desert Island Fruits. We've got an interesting set of ROMs for a bar crest machine, so I'm going to be doing a video on that. There's a couple of other things as well. So I'm hoping to get some new sort of Fruit Machine emulation stuff up on the channel in the coming, week or two, something like that, when I get the chance. So we'll get some new content up on the channel that is Fruit Machine related as well. So yeah, there's a couple of things in the pipeline for that too, but I'll wrap this one up here. Goodbye.